Sports. I'm Wesley Boone. They say you come to LSU for the big moments, the biggest stage. Well, the stage was set today, an elimination game against Florida State in Baton Rouge Super Regional. Let's see how it played out. If that wasn't exciting enough, the guest speaker of honor tonight is baseball legend Darryl Strawberry, and he happens to be joining me right now. Mr. Strawberry, get on in here.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me. How are you enjoying Sin-Law so far? 2019 inductee class is full of legends, but maybe the biggest name, Peyton Manning. He joins us now. Peyton, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
You know, this year's biggest name, Peyton Manning, arrived yesterday evening to partake in the weekend of festivities, and he's joining a class that includes Sin-Law natives Marie Gagnard, Charles Smith, and T. Barry Porter. Now, last year, you kind of played a role in Brandon Stokely finding out that he was inducted. A year later, to kind of be joining him, Reggie, some Colts teammates. Yeah. This is kind of turning into like a kind of a Colts Hall of Fame over here, too.
Well, that's good. That's good. We had a bunch of great players, and, you know, I always felt a connection with guys from Louisiana.
Trey, you can still hear the boos from the Superdome. It was loud all afternoon, but maybe never louder than it was when the officials missed a pass interference call that would have effectively ended the game and potentially sent the Saints to the Super Bowl. Peabody legend is going to be enshrined in the rafters, and he's joining me right now. Jalen Richard. Jalen, kind of take me through some of the emotions kind of going through you right now, knowing, hey, you're about to be basically immortalized here at Peabody. That was going to be my first question. Obviously, your faith is such a big part of your identity. How much of a factor did that play into you wanting to work with the SCA?
Well, it's a major factor in my life. It's my everyday life of getting up and knowing what's important is my faith and being able to make a difference in somebody else's life.
Welcome back to your sports, and welcome to Kansas City. We're in the heart of downtown KC, sitting right outside the Municipal Auditorium. It's this gorgeous building right behind me, and that's where they're playing all of the NAIA tournament games. Central Louisiana was well represented in this year's 2019 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame class, and though the trio's journeys couldn't be more different, their stories will now share the same home forever in Natchitoches. Plenty of positive to talk about from this game. For example, the Saints defense holds the Eagles to only 6 second-half rushing yards, under 50 rushing yards for the entire game. Really, from midway through the first quarter on, they pitch a shutout. They pick off Nick Foles twice. You think the main storyline would be, hey, the Saints defense played stellar, but here in New Orleans, people are still gushing about that 18-play, 92-yard epic drive. Earlier this week, Sean Payton rolled into his locker room a glass case filled with $225,000 in ones and a Vince Lombardi trophy. He told his players, you want this? Win 3, I can't say exactly what he said, but win 3 football games. This morning's matchup between Tennessee and LSU had been circled on the calendar for a while now, and while the Volunteers weren't the #1 team in the country, the game provided the Tigers the opportunity to take down 2 top-5 opponents in the span of 10 days. If you're trying to find an example of excellence in Central Louisiana football, well, look no further than the Manny Tigers. They defeated the Vidalia Vikings 35-0. 10 years ago, Saints kicker Garrett Hartley kicked a field goal in overtime to put the Saints ahead of the Minnesota Vikings and onto the Super Bowl. Well, fast forward to today, and a kick was made in overtime to send a team to the big game. That kick was made by Greg Zuerlein. He plays for the Los Angeles Rams. A quiet start for the Brad Laird era for Northwestern State. In a game marred with discipline penalties and tons of mistakes, we're also no closer to figuring out who the quarterback is going to be for these Demons.
Our Wesley Boone is here with the emotional story of the Live Oak football star and the diagnosis that changed his life.
Thanks, Robert. For one Bay Area football team, the fall brought more than just a new football season. And for one 16-year-old in particular, it brought a season of trial and tribulation that will test the strengths of his community, his team, and himself. My favorite moment was Dana Carvey and Mike Myers.
That was fun, too.
Introducing Bohemian Rhapsody, bringing back Wayne and Garth from Wayne's World. That was fun.
They did that?
They did it. It was great.
Watched.
It was so good. Off Highway 101, tucked below the beautiful skyline of Morgan Hill, sits Live Oak High School. On every helmet, you see the number 3. And all around, there are orange wristbands, all to honor one of their own.
I always wanted to play football. I saw my pops, he was always like the football, like he was like a beast. That's what I heard from all his friends. So I always wanted to be like that. I wanted to be that guy, the beast mode guy or something.
I love to coach the kid that has maybe a little bit harder time to
hold the ball this way, catch the ball this way, run like this. And Jay was all of that. He was like, he had a hard time running. He had a hard time catching. Didn't come easy. But when it did and he got it, oh God, he ran with it.
Jalen's relentless attitude and work ethic on and off the football field stands out to his coaches.
Jalen's just a hard-nosed player that gives 110% every time he's on the field. He doesn't know the word quit, and he runs hard and tackles hard and just loves being out here on the football field.
Always has a smile on his face. Works hard in the weight room in the off season. If you had, 15 Jalen's, I wouldn't complain.
But this past fall, something became different with Jalen's trademark work ethic.
And I could see, he was getting maybe a little bit more winded than the norm.
Like during the sprints for varsity, after I was done with that, I feel like I couldn't even finish practice sometimes. And then throwing up, oh my gosh. I'm normally, I throw up all the time, they call me throw up sometimes, that was my nickname. But this year I was throwing up almost every practice after conditioning or just running. And then I started feeling weak, and I even talked to one time my mom even pulled me aside, talked to me just what's wrong, and I just said I don't feel right. I didn't know what was wrong though.
Despite not feeling right, Jalen continued to play, getting his first varsity action in this game against Gilroy. Waking up the next day, Jalen was covered in bruises. Going in for blood work, there was one thing on Jalen's mind.
The main thing I was thinking is don't be cancer. That was the main thing that was in my head, because I kind of just kept God, I was trying to keep my cool.
He was saying it that day, and I'm like, I don't know, babe, I think we're good, and you're trying to keep him don't think like that, and so it's hard.
Their fears are soon confirmed. Cancer. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
My mind just kind of went blank. I just couldn't even think. I just saw my parents start crying, and I was just all I was doing was staring at the wall. I couldn't even, felt like I just left.
He understood the C word and was just looked at us as, am I dying?
From the moment of his diagnosis, Jalen's battle begins.
As soon as you're diagnosed, it's not sit down and think about it. It's, we gotta do this. We gotta start the chemo. We gotta do the LPs. So it's kind of like you're trying to comprehend what's happening, but at the same time, you're getting so much information.
I've kind of processed it, it was a few days later. It's just you know what, because I told them, I have it, just gotta fight it.
Jalen isn't alone in his fight. One of his coaches, Richard Nelson, has also battled cancer.
Esophageal cancer was the main mothership, I guess, that went to my lymph nodes, liver. It's now in my lungs, transferred to my brain. It's in my left shoulder. It's moved around.
The Live Oak community is rallying around Jalen, raising money for his hospital bills and adapting the hashtag Rios Strong. Jalen's battle with cancer is just beginning, but last week, just 2 weeks after our interview and just days after Live Oak lost in the playoffs, Coach Nelson passed away.
Wish I could have seen him one more time before he passed, because that kind of sucks. I didn't get to say anything or just talk to him one more time. It's hard. Yeah, it sucks.
Coach Nelson's last message to Jalen? A vote of confidence.
Knowing his fight and what he's going through right now, which is a tough one. And he's got a battle to go, but I know that kid will beat it. That kid will beat it.
Coach Nelson's passing is another reminder of the pain that cancer can bring. With his passing, the Live Oak community will honor his memory by sticking together and rallying around one of their own.
The very next Friday, the whole school had orange on for leukemia. We all had Jalen Strong shirts on. We wore them at the game. The kids know that as long as they're positive, because that's the way Jalen is, and they just stay focused on what Jalen would want.
Live Oak is the coaching there, the families, just been so awesome. I have no words for that.
Just seeing all the things the community's posting, all a really big help and just helping me fight through this. Because without them, I probably would kind of be a mess right now.
Now Jalen fights on, knowing the road to recovery will continue to be hard. But with the support of his teammates, classmates, coaches, and the entire Live Oak community, Jalen is proving to be Rios strong. In high school, football, for many, is just a game.
You don't produce, I can't help you.
For others, it can also be a way out.
I just really want to help out the city, just help out my family, and just make everyone's life better. That's really about it.
For Kennedy Richmond's Jermaine Terry, football is an opportunity to create a lasting legacy for himself and, in the process, honor a father he can barely remember.
I'm trying to make sure his legacy lives on. I'm his junior. That last name, Terry, it means something on the back of that jersey. And I'm going to make sure people understand that. And, I'm just trying to make sure his legacy lives on.
Jermaine's father passed away when he was only 5 years old. With Jermaine's memories of his dad, few and distant.
Just like going to his house, chilling with him being with me and my mother, I was real young, so I really don't remember as much, but he was just like a very impactful person in my life, He was just always the man of the house and the leader of the family, basically.
Growing up without his father, Jermaine was forced into a leadership role from an early age, making him a natural leader on the football field.
Dealing with what he had to deal with at a young age, his attitude is starting to reflect and rub off on this team. So I think that's just a blessing to have in itself. You don't find many players like that as good as he is and as good as he can be, he's very humble. You would not even think he was being recruited. He wants everybody to have success. And you don't find many selfless players like that.
Jermaine's talents at tight end are attracting attention from college football juggernauts like Alabama, LSU, Florida, and USC, among others. Despite the attention, Jermaine is focused on one thing.
Just walking around Richmond, you see a lot of familiar faces of people that could have did something with their lives with sports, but they're just doing something else now. And I don't want to be one of those people or another statistic. So if you want something, you got to work to get it, and it's not going to be handed to you. So if you want it, you got to work for it. Like a lot of people, they say they want stuff, but they really don't want it. So me, I just try to make sure that I'm putting myself inside the best position to always succeed.
With an exciting future ahead of him, Jermaine is poised to achieve those goals. With him always, a figure from his past, pushing, inspiring him, and guiding him along his way. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame's goal is to memorialize the state's very best sports figures. With that comes some of the state's very best sports stories.
Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Marie Gagnard.
Sinlaw native Marie Gagnard is the keeper to one of the best stories of the 2019 class.
In 1993, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. I had surgery to remove my thyroid. They got all the cancer, but it paralyzed one of my cords.
And just like that, the professional tennis officiating career of Gagnard was in jeopardy. But little by little, her voice returned, as did she, back to the career she so dearly loves.
I've enjoyed rodeoing. I met a lot of friends, and I've got my family. I think my family and friends that worked on this to get me here. I never thought I'd make it.
Leesville native T. Barry Porter has plenty of stories of his own. The 92-year-old rodeo cowboy became the first rodeo cowboy inducted in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame.
Cowboying has been a good life for me. I've met a lot of people, and I hope everybody realizes what it means to somebody.
The evening was equally as emotional for Peabody coach Charles Smith, who, while reflecting on his journey, couldn't help but choke up.
By all odds, I should not be here tonight. By today's standard, I am what you would call an at-risk kid. But because the love of my community and my family, I was able to make it.
3 phenomenal sports stories from 3 Sinlaw sports legends. now forever enshrined in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame.